I, there's two things, and I don't know how I'm gonna sort it out. Um, so I'll give you basically the first one, and then the next video I'll talk about the other one. I like my sweater. I've been buying very nice sweaters. Anyway, I was talking to this recruiter, and these recruiters, they ask you for your resume, and then they're trying to help you when they say, hey, can you make these changes to the resume? And I understand that. But I've been in production and media in some fashion for about 10 years. 10 years plus, really. On top of that, audio visual work is very similar to production, which I don't know if the companies don't understand that or they don't want to admit that. Just in general, a lot of jobs use the same skills, the same technology, everything. And I swear to God, it's just a big conspiracy that all these companies are trying to keep you apart, right? Google is Google is Google. You need to use Excel. Excel is the same as Google Sheets. I don't care what you say. There's formulas for both, and that's where you learn it differently. But if you can input data in a cell, in a spreadsheet, in Excel, you can do the same thing in Google Sheets. Email is email, all right? Outlook email is no different from Gmail. It's no different from Yahoo Mail. It's the same thing. Like, we need to stop pretending like things are different. Anyway, that's part of the thing. But I tell this lady, I said, lady, because she looks at my resume and she says, oh, all you have is the job titles and the company. And I told her, I said, my resume is 2 pages because I have 10 years of experience. So on the second page, if you look at it, and if you take the time to look at it, you will see my responsibilities on the second page, because the first page is my summary and my brands that I've worked for and the companies I've worked for. Then she asks me, oh, where's your skills? Like, what software do you use? And I said, it's literally in the skills section on the bottom of my resume, because literally my summary, my experience, my responsibilities, and my education are all there. So my skills are on the bottom. And I said to her, I said, I apologize, but I've been putting this resume through ATS, and I've given it to headhunters in person, and they have told me that it's a good resume. And even then, I still update my resume and try different formats to see what happens. Okay, so first off, here's a tip. When you apply to something online and you upload your resume, if it asks you to re-input the data, that actually means your resume was not read through ATS. Because when you have an ATS readable resume and you upload it, all the experience is going to be filled out automatically. It's not going to ask you to put more experience. So I don't know if people haven't heard that or understood that, but that's actually a tip. But I basically I tell this lady, I say, lady, ma'am, I don't say lady, I say miss, I apologize. But if I put responsibilities for every single job title or company that I've been in, my resume would be 7 pages. 8 pages, whatever. It would be way too long to be a resume, and at that point, it's called a CV. And a CV is a curriculum vitae or vitae, whatever. That's which honestly I think is a better form of applying than with a resume. And if anything, LinkedIn is a CV. So, words of wisdom. If you put every single job you've had on LinkedIn, whether you worked at Burger King and you became a CEO, that's your CV. But I digress. I tell the recruiter, I can give you another resume if you want, but I suggest you sit there and you actually read my resume. Because again, I've been doing this for 10 plus years. You literally see all the companies. And I had to tell her, I had to say, listen, on top of the section that says executive experience, you will see I've done A24 films, Showtime shows, Amazon shows, Apple TV shows, Netflix films. I've done web series. I've done music videos. I've been in a short film, right? I've done podcasts that are on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I have the experience, and a lot of the same things are used across every company. If you're working with Netflix in post production, if you're working in Harbor Picture with post production, if you're working with an ad agency, a lot of times you're using Avid for your dailies, and then you go into Resolve for your coloring, and you're going to use Logic Pro for your audio. Same thing, no matter what. Smaller ad agencies or digital marketing agencies will try to get away with Final Cut, and a lot of the medium of the road companies or companies that just want to save money will use the Adobe suite. I tell this recruiter, and I say, if you want to talk about cameras, you're going to use the same brand of cameras, and a lot of places use Blackmagic. A lot of films are RE cameras, or they're Red cameras, or they're Blackmagic. And when you're recording, a lot of times you're using Blackmagic, the ATEM system. I know how to use a NewTek because I worked for a smaller company that used a NewTek. I literally sat there and I told this recruiter, because it's like this recruiter didn't understand anything. And I don't know, right? I don't want to sound like an asshole. But this is the thing that I feel like people need to understand is A, transferable skills. As long as you're able to learn, you can do whatever the hell job you need to do. Unless you're a severe introvert and you're trying to apply for sales, you won't get the position. But the funny thing is, you could be an introvert and make a lot of sales. I don't know if you've seen it. I saw an ad today, which is, I guess, this is how I'll tie it together. There was a guy, and I guess he was paid to make ads for North Face. So what did he do? He put on the North Face. He went out in the rain. He put on a different North Face. He went out in the snow. He put on a different North Face. He went out in a lake. And all he said was, North Face said that this jacket would keep the rain off of me. North Face said this jacket would keep me warm. North Face said this jacket was waterproof. And that's all he did. He went outside, he filmed himself for 5 seconds, and he said, yeah, it works. Go buy a North Face. And that was the ad. That was the ad. He literally said the jacket did what it was supposed to do, and he turned off his camera. Who the are we kidding, right? The job is the job. If you need a cashier and you need somebody that knows math, anybody could do that. Why are you making it difficult to hire? If you need somebody that knows cameras and knows data entry, it doesn't matter what type of camera it is, because cameras all have the same different functions. The buttons are just in different places. If you can fill out a spreadsheet in Google, you can do the same thing in Microsoft Excel. Stop making things difficult. And I'm not talking about like people, us. Yeah, we sometimes make things difficult. But part of the problem with us suffering and feeling the way that we do is because somebody in society said, hey, we need to make shit difficult. And nobody understands why. Nobody gets it. The banks are not supposed to be doing what they're doing with our money. And yet somehow we've accepted this system. We have a two-party political system, even though we're not supposed to. And somehow we accept it. All of these things are here, and we just accept it because that's what's been going on. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. Things don't need to be difficult. So, authenticity is knowing when the BS stops. Because I know that recruiter was probably trying to help me, but you know what recruiters do? They get commission. A lot of them, not all of them, but they get commission when they send a successful contract. So when a recruiter hires you, they're getting a commission. And yes, they are willing to lie for you in order for them to get a commission for you to get hired. There's a bit of a positive incentive there. But if you're a recruiter and you can't read a resume, and I have to tell you how much experience I have and how I understand the business, then you're not doing your job and you shouldn't be a recruiter, or you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So, we just need to stop the BS. And life will get simpler, as simple as it can be, unfortunately, because it's we're already screwed so much. It's not necessarily going to get better. But that's authentic.